All right, go ahead.
Alrighty, so welcome everybody. My name is Andres Camacho. I'm really glad to be here with Home Again LA. Thank you to Lisa Partida and to everyone at Halat for letting me speak today. I'll preface this by saying that I'm not a Social Security expert or anything like that, but I am a financial planner and I have experience in helping people plan for things like retirement and their income sources. So, what today will be about is basically the overview of Social Security. If you've never, you don't know left from right when it comes to Social Security, you don't know what to do or how to apply if you're even eligible. I think this will be a great overview and a way to give you resources that will help you move forward and give you a direction to go from there. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the eligibility. The main thing is that you have to have been working at least 10 years. And without getting too gummed up in the weeds about it, every you every year you're able to earn a certain amount of credits depending on how much you work and the taxes that you're paying. And over after 10 years, you're able to earn the 40 credits you need, but Social Security is based on your highest 35 years of work. So it's very important that this is kept in mind when you're trying to guess or get a sense of how much your benefit payment will be, right? I know that there's a lot of talk in the news or that there has been maybe somewhat in the past about Social Security benefits, in jeopardy or going away. I would not um, I would take that with a grain of salt and be much more concerned about your current situation because a lot of this, the Social Security Administration has been set up to handle these things and it will be around for the foreseeable future. When it comes to claiming your benefits, this is very important. There's something called early retirement age and full retirement age. So the main thing for this year is that if you are 60 to 63 years and older, that is considered early retirement age. You can officially start to claim your Social Security benefits, but you can wait until what is considered full retirement age. This table is a bit just to show you, depending on what year that you were born in, to help you get a sense of what full retirement age is. Most of us nowadays that are going to be claiming Social Security very soon were born after 1960. My father was born in 1960. He just claimed Social Security this year. So, and he is 65. So, but full retirement age after if you were born after 1960, is considered age 67. Okay. Why this matters is that if you, let's say, you plan to work uh, through your 60s, right? This is where you start to decide to make those decisions. And when you sit down with someone to plan out what your income is going to look like in retirement, how long you plan your retirement to be. I think because I've heard both sides of this discussion, I'm sure if whenever you or anyone talks about when to take Social Security, there's always this talk. Oh, wait, put it off. Oh, no, take it early. My views on this are really to look at your longevity. If you have a family history of people living into their 80s and maybe their 90s, if you can expect to live into your 80s or maybe even 90, it is worth considering postponing taking Social Security um, for the later ages in order to obtain a higher amount. However, if you do not expect to see your late 80s or even 90, it's worth considering taking your Social Security earlier. And that's definitely something that you want to have a discussion with when you're either at the Social Security office or speaking with your advisor. Just to show you, kind of as an illustration, right now the average life expectancies are trending upwards, but I I don't like to focus on national things. I'd much rather look at my own family history. When did grandma pass? When did grandma pass? Right. So I show this, but I know some of you might be thinking 75. My deals are all in their set, 80s, right? So You get the point. We don't need to worry about statistics on who's taking Social Security and when, but if you'd like the stats, you're more than welcome to look these things up yourself. Another big question that tends to come up is Social Security and working. So this is where things can get a little bit confusing, but the main thing to note is this. If you've hit your full retirement age, right? So everyone who's born after 1960, if you are age 67, you can work and claim your Social Security benefits. Okay. There's no limit on earnings. That's what this is. If you are under full retirement age, right? Let's say you are 62, 63, your full retirement age is until 67. You have a limit on how much you can work per year and still receive full Social Security benefits. Okay. So, as an example, let's say a 62-year-old is receiving Social Security benefits. They have already claimed them. They are now receiving them. But let's say they want to work. They can earn up to $24,000, $24,480 this year, 2026, this coming year, and it will not affect their Social Security benefits. However, for every $2 above that, $1 will be withheld from their Social Security benefits. And then the formula gets a little funky the year that you turn full retirement age, right? You get to work, you get to earn much more, and the penalty isn't as strict. But again, unless this is like going to move the needle for you, and this is really going to make or break, you know, your housing or your benefits or your maybe other social resources that you're getting, I wouldn't worry too much about the numbers of this, especially if you are working with a professional like an accountant or something to help you gather this information. Okay. Just note that the takeaway here is you can work while receiving Social Security. It's just important that you maintain earned income below a certain limit. Okay. Another big question that is often asked or brought up is taxes. Will I have to pay taxes on my Social Security benefits? And the big answer is it depends. It depends on your income. This is what we call provisional income. Okay. If we are, just as an example, presume that we're taking Social Security, the you can have up to 85% of your benefits taxed, but more than likely it will be much less than that based on these income tables. Okay. I did have another slide I was hoping to put in here. It looks like it didn't make it to the final version. That's all right. Okay. Thankfully, since these formulas are rather complicated, you don't have to memorize them. All right. They're not going to be on the test, I promise. Your accountant or your tax pro, okay, whoever is helping you file your taxes, will be doing these for you. And even in those TurboTax, H&R Block, kind of software, they do this for you. You just punch in the numbers. Okay. So I know that there's like a lot of figures and tables on this stuff. I'd like everyone to just remember you don't have to worry too much about the details of these things. If you would like to better understand them, I'll show a little bit of the Social Security Administration's website where you can create an account and use their calculators to get a sense for all of this. Okay. But just really quickly, this is the income that is typically included when calculating how much of your benefit will be taxed when calculating your provisional income. Okay. So wages, a business income, they'll look at half of your Social Security benefits, any distributions if you might have an IRA. Okay. But it won't include income from things like Roth IRAs or a life insurance policy. things get a little complicated when it comes to spousal benefits, and both of you are deciding when to draw or when to claim Social Security benefits. But this is where, again, I would encourage everyone to have this discussion with their spouses and with the Social Security worker who is helping them with their application. Uh, it it's advisable. I know that since every application gets looked through when it's submitted to the agency, but it is still worth it to have your application looked at before submitting anything, just to make sure that you've crossed your T's, dotted your I's, double checked everything. These are the ages, though, when it comes to obtaining spousal benefits. Again, the same theme applies. If you wait until full retirement age, you can obtain more. That's the idea here. Okay. Just as a recap on these notes, look at the different options you have when it comes to determining when to file for your benefits. And it's usually when you expect a long, a difference in life expectancies, a large difference in life expectancies. Okay. I didn't want to get too complicated into these. Okay. The eligibility, though, is important, so I will briefly touch on this. When it comes to an ex-spouse, there's a couple stipulations. It's important, like I said, when you have large differences in like life expectancies or benefits. But if you were married to if you were married to someone for at least 10 years and you didn't remarry prior to age 60, or if you're married to a spouse for at least 9 months, okay, you'll receive the highest benefit available if you were eligible for multiple survivor benefits. So if you had one partner and divorced, and you went to another partner and they were both getting Social Security, and you, as the ex-spouse of one or the spouse of another, were eligible for some of these benefits, you would receive the higher of the two, right? All of this to say that there is some confusing aspects about Social Security, but as they will tell you themselves, the Social Security Administration automatically calculates these things for you. When you're working throughout your lifetime, you don't necessarily have to file the quarters that you worked and the hours that you worked. You can see how much of this is already being submitted on your behalf by your employers and what is already being tallied up by the IRS. So even though this can seem like it's getting out of hand really quickly, or that there's a lot of things to remember, just keep in mind that this is already being tallied up. You're just able to access and really understand how it works on the Social Security Administration's website. Okay. So like I said, if you're eligible for more than one benefit, the client will receive the highest benefit available. For divorce benefits, the marriage must have lasted at least 10 years. Okay. And they must have been divorced for at least 2. And you can't go remarrying. If the client dies, the ex-spouse is entitled to Social Security or disability insurance at the time of death. But again, the marriage must have lasted at least 10 years, and the ex-spouse must not have remarried prior to age 60. Okay. With all this being said, there's one glaring point that is really, really important to note here. Social Security was never meant to be the only source of income for retirement. It was always created to be a supplement. Now, there's a whole lot of reasons for why it's harder nowadays to get by in retirement and why we're having to rely more on Social Security. But the fact of the matter still remains, it's important to take stock of your funding resources. Okay. So look at, if you have them, look at things like 401k balances, any IRAs, right? If you have a pension or if you have any annuities, right? Look at your expenses, this is again the time to really get down to the budget of it all and make sure that you are planning as early in advance as possible, given what your expected benefits will look like. So I'll skip this really quickly because I wanted to just show one last example. Okay. So this is what lifetime benefits look like. I touched on this earlier about collecting early versus collecting at full retirement age. This is what that looks like visually. Okay. So if someone is expected to have a life expectancy at a, not past 80, it would make a lot more sense for them to collect at an early age, because even though their monthly amount would be less, they would be taking more throughout their remaining lifespan. As a matter of fact, 26% more than if they had waited until age 70, right? So by claiming early, this couple with a life expectancy not even at 80 is able to have, over 100,000 more in lifetime benefits throughout the course of their retirement. So definitely one of the points that I like to reiterate with people, because it is talked about a lot and brought in one of the more common questions that I think a lot of people have opinions on. But the numbers are the numbers. So I didn't want to get too hairy into this, but I can go over it if you'd like. Did you think I should, Lisa?
So this is how you maximize your spousal benefits.
Yeah, it's
Um, I guess, yeah, you could cover it.
okay. So starting out with our couple, we've got Bob and Mary. Both full retirement age is at 66. The primary insurance amount, basically the benefit amount for Bob would be 2,000 and for Mary would be 400. Okay, so in one scenario, they'll file for full retirement and Bob will get, or excuse me, Mary's spousal adjustment will be 600 in addition to the $400 that she has. Okay. In the scenario two, in the second one, they are filing early and receiving a reduced benefit. So from 1,000 down to 900. Okay. Full retirement benefits kick in once you have hit full retirement age. But until then, you're going to have these reduced benefits that you're seeing in scenario three. And with no special adjustment, you can see you've got a really limited benefit. Okay. So this is when a person passes away and you're able to elect for spousal benefits. And I know that we touched, or that we were going to touch a little bit on Social Security disability. The main thing is that if you or your child is blind or was diagnosed with their disability before age 26, I believe was what it was originally. However, um, I apologize. They might have updated it to 28. I could have sworn it was still 26. So
So,
you,
so just out of curiosity, so basically, so long as they had a disability prior to the age of 28 or 26, they would be eligible to receive SSDI. Is that what I'm understanding?
yes, that is
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's interesting. My sister actually, she had her disability and it was 26. The age was 26. So I would still defer to that. I believe I was just confusing myself,
Hmm.
uh, looking at the work requirements, because people who might be receiving or might be on disability might still want to work, and
Hmm.
therein there's a whole different set of rules for how much you can work and how long, um, how much you can earn before it affects your benefits there too. So
Yeah,
but
that's a
again,
big one.
I'm yeah, I'm trying to keep from just spraying a fire hose of information, so forgive me
Yeah,
if I'm like,
that's
you know
okay.
but The one thing I will say is this: when it comes to anyone who's watching this recording, if you would like to reach out or if you'd like to just ask more specific questions regarding your situation, you're more than welcome to. And if you need to go through Lisa first, I have no problems with that. There's also the Social Security Administration website, which is ssa.gov. Okay. Um, when it comes to filing for this, Social Security disability is a much more stringent application than Social Security for retirement. So I think anyone with experience can probably attest to that, but it is a process. So all the more reason why I will, shamelessly say again, it is important to, if you can even um, obtain a representative from the Social Security Administration. They have these services available for those with, if there's a language barrier, if there's a disability, if there's an internet connection issue, right? The government has made a lot of these programs available. It's just that they're not so easily accessible to all of us, or we don't know. Okay. This is just working for your disability benefit, how that affects it. Um, do you think I should go over this, or should I just jump straight to the website?
Yes, I actually do want to know a little bit more about that
Okay.
because I had one particular client that was actually going through this, and I don't know, she ended up losing her benefits, and I
Oh,
don't know if
wow.
it was because she was working, it was like a job training program, and it was just a mess after. So I think this is good
Wow.
information here. Yeah.
Yes. All right then. So I definitely will. And the main thing I want to point out here is this: they will consider a lot. So no two cases are identical, and this is part of what makes these application processes, as complex as they can be or as long as they can be, because the state agency is they want paper trails. They need paper trails for all these things. And while it is ultimately in their hands, the decision, you can always appeal it. And I encourage people to appeal decisions um, that they believe are false, or that they disagree with. Okay. But the substantial gainful activity is the important thing here. And this is, let's go over that a little bit. Okay. Any month you earn almost $1,700. Okay. 1690 for 2025. It's indexed for inflation. Any month you earn over that, you cannot collect your SSDI. Okay. It gets a little funky with the 9-month trial work exception. So you are entitled to test your ability to work and continue to receive full benefits regardless of whether you make more than this amount, just for a 9-month trial work period. Okay. So in that 9-month period, there's no limits. And once you've completed it, you can still receive the SSDI for any month in which the earnings fall below the level, right? So long as you're basically back onto this limit for the next 3 years. So there are little programs, and there's even it's called Pass, which I'll show in just a little bit on the SSA website. If you are on SSDI, but you are seeking some form of gainful employment uh, while or trying to balance the two, and when you reach full retirement age, the SSDI and SSI is essentially just a switch over. Okay, it's automatically, right? Again, nothing that you have to worry about. You're no longer subject to the earnings test, just like anyone else who basically reaches full retirement age. That's sort of the kicker here: is you can reach full retirement age and work as much as you'd like. Okay. Have you, or has anyone asked about the government pension offset? There was this rather recent one. Okay. So Windfall Provision Act, some laws getting passed and whatnot. Not everyone, but some people are affected. If you had a job that you weren't covered from Social Security and you're receiving a pension from it, those eligible for the Social Security or the survivor benefits, right? Those are also included too. This reduces your benefit by 2/3 of your pension because essentially the thinking is you didn't pay those taxes to Social Security then. So if you're getting it now, then that's the drawback to it. Okay, but people are notified of it as well. Uh, again, it's not like you have to mark something on your next tax return. Okay? And then there are beneficiaries. So obviously, we all want to have a long, happy life, but sometimes God calls us in before we intend to. There are beneficiaries for Social Security as well. Any spouse that is 62 or older, a spouse at any age, if they're caring for your child who's younger than 16, or if the child is disabled, former spouses, age 62 and older, parents dependent on your clients, and unmarried children younger than age 18, or if they're a full-time student, they haven't graduated from high school, they can be up to 18 or 19. Then disabilities also increase the age of eligibility for them to be a beneficiary. Same-sex marriages also get Social Security benefits, so you can get more information on their page specifically. But it's my understanding that they have essentially just copied the law over, right? So that's why even throughout this entire presentation, I've tried to be careful and use the words partner because it applies all over now. Spousal benefits, okay? And that takes us to the website, the Social Security Administration's website, where there are calculators, applications, and one thing that I will show you very briefly, which is on a different share. This is the Social Security website. I presume you can see it, yes? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. And it's all right here. As soon as you type that into your browser, this is what you're going to hit, sign in or create an account. And this is where you can estimate your benefits. You can apply for benefits. You can always check the status and replace any cards that you might have had, right? This is also where you can get a lot more information on the different types of Social Security benefits that we covered today. We mainly went over retirement and a little bit of disability. Survivor benefits are basically the last bit that we just kind of glossed over before coming to this website if you want to look into that. But if you just go to their benefits overview, again, that's benefits, benefits overview. You will be able to see by breakdown, by category, the different types. And I've gone through these myself. They're quite extensive without being too overbearing. So if you'd like to learn more, I highly, highly encourage everyone to go to these websites or to go to this website, ssa.gov, and create an account. Lastly, do you need to conduct business with, excuse me, they have a YouTube channel. So if
That's
you'd
cool.
like,
I didn't know that.
yes, yeah. So if you'd like a different person explaining these things to you, probably in a simpler way than I have today, you can check them out. ssa.gov at Social Security.
Okay.
And
I
so
had
there
a,
will be, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, I just had one question. Regarding the SSA.gov website, do you know by chance, this is a question you may or may not know the answer to, which is fine, but or do you know if you're able to download like your benefits letter or anything like that rather than having to go to the Social Security office and obtain one?
Like a proof of benefits, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Because I know I've
Then
tried for my dad and oh, there it is. Oh, okay, get benefit award letter.
download the PDF.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right. I'm gonna check it out because I know like I work with a lot of individuals and I'm always like, "Oh, you got to go to the Social Security office." I'm like, I'm sure there's a way to do it online, but they have like so many safeguards now that it's kind of hard
Yes.
to get through the whole security process if you don't have everything in order.
And that's why I encourage both you and really anyone watching this to check out their YouTube channel first if you're a little bit intimidated by it, because they literally have everything from, scams and social media, information. Here at the bottom, though, just about every language.
Oh, well, that's neat.
Yep.
I'm actually really happy that they're doing that because I feel like a lot of people don't know. I didn't know they even had a YouTube. To be honest with you, this
Yeah.
is the first time I'm learning about it.
Right.
Well,
So
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, this is the main thing I wanted to make everyone, as a takeaway is YouTube University is a thing, and
Yeah.
government agencies are even understanding the importance of it. I'm sure the DMV has their own, website or their own
Yeah.
YouTube,
We got to
but
look
these
that up now too.
right,
Yeah.
but these they break it down from retirement and Social Security, disability, survivor benefits, and they're all bite-sized little things, and they even
Mhm.
break down your Social Security account, which is what this is if you were to sign in or create an account. So pretty cool stuff.
I tried creating an account, but I guess I'm not there yet as far as credits, or maybe I am. I don't know. Just gotta look at it again. But I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty informative. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I know things were hectic for a while, and I'm just glad that we finally got the chance to make this happen.
absolutely. Hopefully we can continue on in the new year. Let's try to make some more plans. But thank you so much, Andres. We appreciate you taking the time coming out over here and talking to us today. And hopefully we'll be in contact. All right.
Alrighty, sounds good,
Thank
Lisa.
you. Have a good day.